played the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl expansion pass. This is Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Therian episode, specifically a game where we get to continue our journey from the Sinnoh region into the Therian region, where we have to go and specifically take down 3 bosses in their dungeons. So if you guys are ready, let's start. Journey begins in Canalave City, where if you guys remember, there is some sketchy books about human and Pokemon relationships, but that doesn't really matter. We go inside of the library and we meet up with the rest. It looks like, well, guess what? Rowan has something to tell us. As I'm sure you're aware, I was going on a research expedition to the Theros Island. Well, what are the Theros Islands? Well, you're going where, old man? Barry asks. Well, Rowan just continues on. However, the trip had to be postponed due to unforeseen weather. That was that. But then I received a call from a fellow colleague on the island. Well, who could this colleague be, we wonder? He's certain the island is in danger and that it's no natural occurrence. So I guess we're gonna have to go and help out. The island is being raised by savage winds and horrible storms. This is the reason I called you all here. I'm seeking for your help. Well, I mean, we're gonna try our best. We don't really know what the Theros Islands are though, but he says that they are filled with Pokemon that have never been seen in Sinnoh before, which is sort of what real expansion passes are like in Pokemon. They tend you to a location that has Pokemon that aren't contained in the base region. Think of, for example, Kitakami in the new DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or the Isle of Armor as the new DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield, where specifically it's a new place, new Pokemon. So now that we've spoken about that, it's time to give our name over to, of course, the sailor who's going to be taking us there. We simply just call ourselves Dawn because it just makes sense, and then it's time to get on the boat and head over to the island. Now that we're on the boat though, we actually get to choose our starter Pokemon. I decide to ask my fiance what she thinks I should choose, and well, she decides to go for Infernape. You guys already know it. It's going to be Infernape on my hand because, well, it's just the best one. Either way, now that we have that, we actually reach Stratistown. This is the location where we're going to be starting our journey in this expansion pass, and so we talk to Rowan, who's told us, well, just go and explore a bit. I'll be meeting my colleague. Our team is looking pretty stacked out. We got Infernape, Blockstray, Drifblim, we got Skuntank, we got Rhydon as well, including also Toxicroak. Like, we got a pretty solid freaking team. Either way, after doing a little bit of research and just looking around, we go up to Rowan and Mr. Pines, or Professor Pines, who's specifically the researcher on the island here. And he is telling us that there has been a weird phenomena of specifically a bunch of really ravenous storms kind of rocking the whole region. So we head out and do a little bit of researching. Now, I'm going to be honest, there's a large variety of Pokemon here, so if you don't want to use just simply a bunch of Sinnoh Pokemon, don't worry, there is a lot of choices for you. We do also take on a few battles. I would highly recommend to level yourself up because the boss battles are difficult. And as I'm speaking of boss battles, we actually run into Landorus. Now, we don't actually know its level, and this is just our first moment of running into it. And as you may notice, there are these special Pokemon in this region, and you will find them as you explore, that specifically have this kind of pinkish health bar. Now, we do defeat this one just for the moment, temporarily, as we get a pocket call. It's Rowan. He's asking us, well, did you defeat one of those Pokemon? Please return to the lab because we need to tell you something. As we return to the lab, though, we get to discover some information. It actually turns out that Pines was kind of the reason for this region going a little bit haywire. See, he actually was trying to use a device to stop the legendary Pokemon, to, well, basically kind of control them or harness their full powers. However, this didn't really work out, so we are tasked to go and deal with this problem ourselves. So now that we're on the road, we check out the map and we see the 3 locations where these guys will be located. They're specifically in their own shrines, and each shrine has its own puzzle that needs to be solved to be actually entered. So as we head our way up the route, we reach Rizzo City, which is a pretty cool city. Here you can actually get your hands on a lot of different things. We make sure to, of course, heal ourselves up first and foremost, and then we talk to some of the locals who tell us, hey, have you checked out the department store? It's a pretty big one, which it actually is. If you need any items, highly recommended. There's also a game corner, which you guys can check out if you want to, but for the most part, our goal here is to stop these legendaries from just wreaking havoc. We also run into a quick battle with just a random rich kid, and then we make it onto Route 236. We check the map because we're trying to reach a specific city, but I thought I was in the wrong direction for a while because we did just come from Rizzo, but we need to go to Zero Town to reach the first specific battle. However, we eventually reach it, and I didn't really figure this out until looking at the map one more time just to confirm this was the right location. Now that we're in the city, well, we just look around, talk to a few different people, just ask them questions, look to see what actually can be found here, and stock up on some items. We then actually reach the shrine itself. Now, the shrine has 2 different entrances and a middle section that requires a specific, like, piece that needs to be put into it. So we are gonna have to do a puzzle to get in here. Now, this puzzle was probably the easiest one out of them to do, or, well, it was probably the most tedious one. We gotta basically push down 2 of these rocks from the upper floors down these holes, and then we actually got to push the second one down too. Once we've done this part, we actually have to go and push these rocks onto these platforms. Now, there's already a default rock that's here just from the beginning, but the other two need to be pushed down from above. So we push these two to the sides, and we push the one from above into the middle. And there it is. We've got ourselves the therian gem. Now, we need this one to be able to access that middle room where we're also going to be able to gain access to, well, where the Pokemon, the legendary we're hunting for, is specifically located. Now, I can't remember which one this is, but I think it might be Landorus, given the fact that it's called Landorus Peaks. And I'll be honest here, this battle was not really good for us, okay? It didn't really go as planned, to say the least. As you may notice, these battles are pretty intense. It's an actual, like, straight up boss battle. You have a massive health bar. You have 3, or I guess more or less 5 actual, like, shields that this Pokemon has. Kind of similar to the shields in Pokemon Go battles, you could say, or even kind of how Dynamax Pokemon work. But I'm going to be real, we lost our first attempt. We didn't manage to win it. We actually fainted and lost every single Pokemon, which was pretty detrimental. They were actually relatively difficult, I'm not going to lie. They were more difficult than I expected. So what we decided to do is just go around and do a little bit of leveling first. One of these places we go to is the Nexus Cave. Now, there's a bunch of different items you can get in here. We find ourselves a netball, and interestingly enough, inside of each ball you find, you'll actually find an item. In this case, we get a Rocky Helmet, and I actually decided, hey, wait a minute, if we have Rocky Helmet, we also have a bunch of other items. Why don't we actually, just put these on our Pokemon and actually use them? Because for some reason, I'm the kind of player who just forgets about these sort of things. Actually, I'd love for you guys to let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys play competitive Pokemon or not? I'm just curious. Let me know in the comment section. However, after finally applying all those items and getting a few extra levels, as well as putting Floatzel on our team and Staraptor, we go back and we take on the Giant Boy. Now, here we go for Wing Attack multiple times. Luckily for us, though, the Landorus actually uses a lot of moves initially that don't do anything for us. We're able to get 2 of the, I guess, armor bars down, or the, I guess, shield bars down, and we're able to use Toxicroak here to do a little bit of damage. We got Sucker Punch. However, for some reason, this guy decides to not use any attacking moves the moment I decide to go for Sucker Punch. However, luckily, we do get 2 hits in, which is all that we needed, because now there's only 1 hit left to take down the shield. And I'll be real, once the shield is up is when it's problematic, because once the shield is gone, this thing doesn't really stand much of a chance anymore. You're able to do a lot of damage. So the Crunch comes in here from Luxray to do a decent amount of damage. I decide to revive Staraptor, and the specific reason I revive Staraptor for is because of the fact that he has, like, I think Earth Power, which doesn't actually hit it, and on top of Earth Power, he also has Earthquake, which both are moves that will not hit us, and sometimes this Landorus will use moves that are just ineffective against us. We try to use Floatzel as well as we can, but it doesn't really do much. Here we go for the Wing Attack. Does a decent amount of damage. We do get hit, though, I think with the Hammer Arm, which does make him slower, but he does keep using moves which actually just literally cannot hit us. He goes for Earth Power again. We are getting buffeted and hit by the Sandstorm that's going on at the moment, and that, unfortunately, is the part that takes us out. It isn't even any of the moves by the Landorus itself. It's literally just the outside effects, the weather effects that take us out, which is really ironic, I guess, because it's the weather trio. Nonetheless, though, we do get the close combat in here with Infernape. The second one misses, though, which is really, like, scary at this point, but fear not, Skuntank comes in with a nice lash, and guess what? We defeated the first out of the 3, but we still have a few to go, guys. So, now that we've sorted that out, we head back to the Nexus Cave, and of course, we got to make it through here. We put a repel on because we just don't want to deal with a bunch of the random Pokemon. I think our team is pretty solid the way it is. It just looks like your default sort of Sinnoh team for the most part. Now, either way, as we're making it through the Nexus Cave, we eventually reach this guy who's a linebacker, and he just wants to have a battle. He has himself a Lairon, which we take down easily with Staraptor, and I think a close combat. Gigalith comes out next. We go for the same one, but the Stone Edge takes us down, so we got to switch over into someone else, like Luxray with the Crunch. We go for the first one, and the second one also hits, guaranteeing us the victory there. However, there is still a Steelix here. I, for some reason, tried to use a move which wasn't really going to do much, which was in this case, I think, Thunder Punch, so don't know why I went for that, but we switch over into Infernape and go for close combat. Also, I think he's Choice Banded now, so every time we just go for a specific move, we're going to be stuck to that move, but we're going to be doing more damage with any of our physical moves, so close combat is definitely the smartest one to go for. Either way, the Sucker Punch from Toxicroak is enough to take that down. Next up is Fortress. This one is a little annoying to take down. We go for a bunch of Mud Bombs, and it goes for, I think, a bunch of Gyro Balls, which are just annoying, but eventually we do take it out as well. And also the best part about doing these battles is it does actually garner us a bunch of experience, which we do require. Now that we sorted that out, we head down the route and finally reach Nimbus City. Now, Nimbus City is a kind of an important location. There is multiple things here. First of all, there is the giant Pokemon Center. The Nimbus Pokemon Center is a large one, as you may notice. And also this guy. Oh yeah, how much you want? Well, the deal is you give me 500 Pokédollars, then I promise you'll get something really good. So you ready? Are you gonna trade? Pleasure doing business. Well, guess what? He just scams us and gives us a Magikarp. There's also a special room with really high level trainers. And I'm gonna be honest, I lost against these guys, but I would recommend going here if you want to level up, because there is a special location in the Nimbus City Harbor. If you go into the Nimbus City Harbor boat, you will actually find a battle facility similar specifically to the Battle Frontiers. And yes, there's a whole battle facility in this freaking game, guys, which is what makes it so cool. It's called the Battle Harbor. You guys can go there and participate if you want to. I'd highly recommend checking the game out yourself and doing specifically this activity. The game is really sick, by the way. And also you can join our Discord, where we usually link to all these games and that sort of stuff. And you can always just DM me on Discord through our server to ask me about questions. Either way, we get over to the daycare, where we decide to just not really put any Pokemon in because we don't really need it. But if you guys do decide to do any breeding, do that. Either way, we run into what I thought first was a shiny Aipom, but it's actually I guess a Therian Aipom. It's specifically a Pokemon form for this region, as it is but more pink colored, I think. But it's pretty cool. We take it down though and end up not catching it, which was a bit of a mistake. I should have gotten it into the team, but I digress. It doesn't matter. We get to Munton Town, which is an important location because here we need to level up as well as heal up before we head into the next shrine. So now that we're at the shrine location, this one seems to belong to Thunderous because it's the Thunderous Shrine. And the actual puzzle in this one, I'm going to be honest, is way easier than the first one. It's just simply going back and forth kind of on these pads, trying to get the colors to match up with the doors you want to open. It does take a bit of time to get it right, but eventually I kind of figured it all out and we got ourselves the Therian gem once again. This time is the purple one, which makes sense given what we're about to battle. Either way, we put the gem in and now it's time to take on the next battle. And this one's going to be a doozy. It's Thunderous Peak and of course it's going to be Thunderous. Now these are the boss battles again, as you may notice, so it's going to be the same situation. We're going to be going up against this big boy and they're going to be usually powered up and way more powerful. But go for the close combat with Infernape, hoping that's going to be able to do a decent chunk of damage, which it's able to do quite a little bit actually, because this guy doesn't actually take out Infernape. I'm going to be honest, Landorus was probably the hardest one out of everything we had to battle in this. It was just the genuinely hardest battle. I had to level up many times and I had to use multiple revives. I think in this battle we didn't even really have to, well, I think we might have revived one Pokemon and that's about it. We go for the Sucker Punch with Toxicroak. The Crunch does do a tiny bit of damage, but honestly it's the lightning strikes. Basically the thunderstorms that they create are the problem, and in this case this fella is hitting us with a bunch of lightning. And here I really hated this part. I kept trying to go for Sucker Punch, but he kept using Nasty Plot and just kind of setting himself up for whatever reason, so I kept missing every single Sucker Punch, which was just infuriating because we could have easily gotten 2 hits in there and gotten ourselves, you know, just all the way down so it doesn't have any more armor. Either way, here we decide to go for the Crunch. He again goes for the Nasty Plot, which is again just annoying. We do get hit by some lightning, but it doesn't do much because it is a Luxray, so our typing does come in clutch. However, he does go for the Discharge, which does do a ridiculous amount of damage, but that's also because he did kind of charge up. He did use the move Charge, which of course charges up the electrical power and just makes the next electric type move that he uses just super strong. In this case though, we're up against, well, a horrible Pokemon, so we go for the close combat because Staraptor doesn't really stand much of a chance here. If we get hit by even one of the moves that he's got, we're done for, which is exactly what happens. So Staraptor fars relatively quickly here. However, we do still have 2 Pokemon left. Floatzel is the first one out. I decide, okay, might as well use Floatzel. He's got nothing else left. Also, I think he's Choice Scarfed, so he should be able to do something with that. However, the Discharge takes him down, and that's unfortunately almost where things end. Except I decide, okay, we got Skuntank, and we have a few revives. Maybe we can make something work here. So we decide to actually go for, well, a bit of a weird combination of moves here. Night Slash is the first thing you go for, which does a decent amount of damage, but he goes for Nasty Plot again, so I decide, okay, you know what? I might as well go for another Night Slash. I mean, if I'm going to lose this battle, I might as well lose it in style. However, he keeps using Nasty Plot, so I just keep spamming the Night Slash, and guess what? He uses it again, and I get the final hit in. So honestly, if this Thunderous was just a little bit smarter, we should have lost that. We shouldn't have had that battle, but we did, which was pretty freaking crazy. So we head back to Nimbus City to make sure we heal ourselves up before we go and take on the final dungeon. So now that we've figured that out, we have to go to Alto Town, which is the last location we haven't actually explored. And I'm gonna be real, this is one of the coolest towns I've ever seen. Basically, every single house is inside of the mountains. Like, the actual buildings are part of the mountains, which is really freaking cool. We pick up a few items, and of course we make sure to heal ourselves up. And this guy seems to not be happy about his painting, but that's not really my concern. As we're trying to exit the city though, we do run into a quick battle, which we do dispatch of relatively quickly before we reach the shrine. Now this is the Tornadus Shrine, so of course Tornadus is going to be here. Now this puzzle, I'm going to be real, was the hardest one. Now as you may notice, I fall through the hole if I try to go straight through there, but that's not the point of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to actually push these rocks in front of the first actual trigger, and then you're able to walk past without too many problems. And that's exactly what we did. But here I kind of got a bit stuck, and eventually we figured it out, and we got ourselves the Therian gem. We put it in, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the Tornadus Peak to take on, of course, Tornadus himself. Now, Tornadus is going to be a, let's just say, difficult Pokemon, okay? This thing is a chunky boy, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a relatively difficult battle. And also, I'm gonna be honest, before we even get into this battle, the fact that this game literally feels like an actual Pokemon expansion pass and DLC is pretty crazy, man. I'm gonna be honest, the fact that you have the Battle Harbor, which is kind of like, essentially, a battle facility. It's like your battle location, similar to that of what you would have in the Battle Frontier, that exists in this game. So if you ever wanted to just play Diamond and Pearl and the feeling of Diamond and Pearl with some brand new Pokemon, I'd highly recommend to check out this game, because I didn't even explore every little like nook and cranny of the game. There's so much more you can actually do. However, we actually end up losing our Infernape here in the beginning, so we do not fear. We still have the rest of our squad to go. Staraptor comes out next. We were able to get one close combat off earlier, and in this case, we're hoping we can get at least a few more hits in to try to get its actual, I guess, armor down, because those things are the biggest problem, right? The shields that it has are the biggest issue. The Air Slash comes through and does a ridiculous amount of damage. However, we do survive and are able to get one hit in, which is perfect. However, the Crunch does take Staraptor out, which is a little bit of a problem. But again, fear not, we are not totally in trouble yet. We still have the rest of our team, which is consisting of 4 more Pokemon, and those are of course Luxray, Skuntank, Floatzel, and of course Toxicroak. But we're going to go out with Floatzel first, because I decided, you know what, we got a few different moves that could do a decent amount of damage here, and also some of our other Pokemon are probably more useful, like of course Luxray, want to keep around for later down the, later down the line for this battle. We're going to need it. So Aqua Tail is what we go for first. We did get hit by the Air Slash, which takes us out in that single hit, which was, of course, a problem, because we would have loved to get a second hit in to take down the, well, just the shields, to be honest, because the shields are the biggest issue with these battles. They make them so much more strong. And as you may notice, this boy is in his other form. He's not in his regular one, which also adds another level of complexity. We go for the Sucker Punch, which does hit, which is lucky for us, because this thing could have been otherwise just using some sort of buff on itself, which would have been annoying, because it would have just delayed our moves. We go for a second Sucker Punch, which I did not expect to hit given the way things went with our Sucker Punches in the last battle where we just missed everything, but I didn't really worry too much because I was like, okay, the armor is gone. Now we can just get a few hits in that easily should be able to take it down. We even survived multiple hits from this thing and are able to take it down relatively far before we lose Toxicroak. So shout out to Toxicroak for being an actual champ. Now though, who do we use for the rest of this battle? Well, we have 2 Pokemon, Luxray and Skuntank. I decide, you know what, we're going to do the same logic as before. We go Luxray first, and we keep Skuntank as our final Pokemon. So, in this case, we have a few options. We could go for Thunderfang or Discharge, but we do get hit by the Hammer Arm, which is good because that's going to lower the speed of the actual Tornadus. It's going to be much slower now, and we get lucky with the actual Paralyze coming through thanks to the Discharge, and that's exactly what we needed. Next, we go for the Thunderfang, and just hope this thing is going to miss a few moves, which it doesn't, but it does go for Crunch, which is better. We do get hit by the Typhoon that is going on right now, which is the storm that's happening, which is, well, it's going to be a little bit of a problem, but we do survive the Air Slash. However, we don't really survive the Typhoon. However, do remember, we do have Skuntank, though the clutch king of them all does come through and does help things out. Skuntank, of course, has Night Slash and a few other moves that could come in handy here, but we do have the Paralyze up here, and remember, it used Hammer Arm earlier, so it will be slower than us nonetheless. The first Night Slash hits, the Paralyze comes through, we do get hit by the Typhoon, but again, the second hit is all that's needed. And ladies and gentlemen, we took down the last of the legendaries. They are now defeated. So we head back to Mr. Pine, of course the professor, and of course Professor Rowan, and talk to them. They tell us, hey, you've done great work, excellent work, and we can now leave the region as we've already done our research, and we've of course also figured some things out. But this was just the main story. Think of how an actual DLC works. There is actually more stuff you can come back and do. You got to capture all the Pokemon to complete the Pokedex for this specific region, and I would also recommend checking out our other video where we played the heartgold soulsilver fan game that serves like a actual expansion pass.